Hello and welcome. This is Randy with Excel for Freelancers, and this week we're going to be focused on bugs and how to fix them. We're going to create a ton of bugs, and then we're going to go through one by one and show you exactly how I go about fixing bugs so that maybe it can help you also fix the bugs that you encounter when you're programming in Excel. I can't wait to get started, so let's get to it. All right, welcome back. Today we're going to be covering bugs and how to fix them. We're going to create a lot of them, and then we're going to go step by step, as mentioned, and fix those bugs, and I'm going to go over my thought process. What we're going to start out with is the Contact Manager. This is an application that was created in a prior video, and I'm going to include links down below for that video so that you can see how this was created. That would be the data entry form video, so I'll include that. And basically what we did is we created this really basic Contact Manager where we had the ability to create new forms and add some information and then save that information in a list down below. But what we're going to do today is we're going to mess this up. We're going to take it and we're going to add to it just as you would when you want to customize it yourself. And all of the bugs that we encounter by making those changes, we're going to fix them one by one live as we go through it. So you can see just every step, the thought process, the steps, and the methods that I use to fix bugs, and so that you can do the same. Because I know a lot of you, especially with this data mapping feature, as you may have seen, there's a lot of issues with that when it comes to making changes and fixing them. So I'm going to show you just how to do that. And through the process, you're going to learn exactly how to customize your own forms, your own applications, and how to fix bugs when you encounter them. There's nothing to be afraid of. So let's get started. We have a currently functional application here, but let's customize this just as you might. So we'll start out by adding a row here and here. And first of all, what we're going to do is I'm going to go into the Developers tab, and I'm just going to turn off and pause so that nothing runs with that. You'll notice that there is code already there based from a previous version. So I'm just going to pause the code. I don't want anything to run while we're making those changes. All right, so we've got a new row here, and we'll go ahead and add some formatting. I just want to make it look a little bit better. So we can update those cells so we can give it a better fill color. Okay, so we've gotten that. I've added a row, and maybe I'll want to put some description here. Enter and save your context. And then I'll change the font on that. We'll just reduce the font so we can see a much lower font, maybe 13 or 14 or something like that. I'll go ahead and give it there we go, and we'll merge and center that. I just want to make it so that we make enough changes so that we can really see a big difference. And then we'll merge and center that. Okay, so now we have contact name here. Why don't we make it a first name, last name? And then I want to put some notes in here. So I'm going to increase this table, which holds our current 7 items. I'm going to make it 9. So let's do that. I'm going to insert a column here, and then I'll insert a column here. And we'll make this phone. I'm just going to make this phone here. And then I want to make this notes. Okay, so I want to add some notes to that, and so that we can increase it. So this first field, we'll call this first name. And now we need to add this, and I want to add another one, and I'm going to call that last name, but we'll add that on, let's say, G, last name. And we'll customize this form. We have more rows than columns now, so we can merge and center this. And let's drop this. Let's pin this for now because we're going to be using it a lot. And then left justify it. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to copy. So we have first name, last name. We'll put address down here. So when you're creating these, what you want to do is you want to take care of all of the user interface first. Before you touch any coding, you want to make sure it's exactly how you want it. We'll add the city here, put the email down here, and maybe a state here, and then I want to add some notes. And up here we'll put the city here. Okay, and then I want to increase some rows here as well. So let's insert some rows, maybe one more too as well. All right, that looks good. Okay, so I want to put some notes here too, maybe a field here so we can add those notes. All right, and then we'll put this notes. We'll make those a big field just so we have plenty of space here. Something like, we'll make it, okay, actually we can, let's go ahead and move everything up just a little bit, so because we have some extra spaces here. We can do that as we customize this form, and we'll bring everything up just one row. We've got the extra space now that we've done that, okay. And we'll bring notes up as well. And now that's good. Now we've got, what I want is 2 rows for notes here. So I want to make sure the notes have additional space. So we'll merge and center that, left and upper justify, and then put a, there we go. Okay, now we don't need this row. We can have that back to normal list. All right, so what we do now is we've created a note section. I've got an address here, and I still want to leave room for the ID picture. So we'll expand that. ID picture will go in this area here in K and L. And then we'll make this, let's format, line those up, align to the middle, and bring those up all the way up here, and we'll drop down that. Right, that looks good. And then we don't need this. We'll bring this down here. All right, so that looks good. And now we just have to add in our formats and make the rest of it. So we've got a larger name for first name. We'll merge and center that. And we'll do the same thing for address. We'll do the same thing. We got 2 addresses there. This needs to be last name. Email, city, state should be a smaller field. Then we'll add a phone here. Okay, that's going to be just fine. All right, so we'll merge and center that. Now we've got additional fields here. Email, a larger field for address, which I like. The city, a larger field there. Okay, and this one, let's move this here. All right, we can get rid of those. We don't need that. And what I want to do is I want to copy this. I want to paste the formats on all of these. So we have last name, city, and state, and then I'm going to also format this. I'm going to put the phone number right here. So I'm going to paste special, and then paste the formats on that. Update this to phone number. We don't need a large field for state, so that's fine as well. So we're going to make a lot of changes, and that's the whole point. I want to create a lot of different bugs. I want to, just as you would. So that's the entire point. To create to make a lot of changes just as you will, and show you it's not really that difficult if you follow a certain process. Okay, so I think we're good to go. Let's just take care of the formatting here, and we need to merge and center that. So format the cells, and then we'll give those, I know you can't see that, just going to give those our general blue border here all the way around. We'll use this color blue here. Then I'll give it all the way around except the left border. We're going to use that as the dotted line. But this one we do need to merge it. I'm going to have this one increase all the way. Give it a large no all the way to J. Merge and center. And then left justify and upper. Okay, so that looks good. We've got room for our ID picture here. We'll put that in there. We've got larger names for our last name. We don't really need it this big, but we'll reduce them. The phone number can be smaller. And the email can be about that. That looks good. Okay, so now we've got notes. We've got first name. We can color that white. We've got last name, address, city. That looks good. We'll put the city just so we can get a look at it. And then email. Our email field is dropped down here. Okay, and we have a state. That's, we just need a small field and a phone number for that, so that's fine. Okay, that looks good, and we've got a note. So we've got all of our fields now changed. We've got our form pretty much set up. We've changed a lot of things. So basically all we've done is we added notes here. We've changed a first name and a last name, given them larger fields here. So it would look something like this. So there we go. We've made enough changes to cause a lot of problems with our code, and that's exactly what I wanted. I want to create a lot of problems. All right, now we've created lots of problems, which is what I want. And let's go back into the developers and then reset that and just see what happens and all the bugs that are going to ensure. Okay, so let's reduce this. Now let's click on a row and we get a bug. Okay, let's take a look at this bug, obviously. Method of range of object worksheet failed. Okay, let's take a look at why this is. Debug that. Now, when we're debugging, what we have here is this is the loading the contact. So this is a bug that when we select a line, we want that information to load. So we've selected a line, but we want the information to load, but it's having a problem, obviously. So let's take a look at why this is having a problem. Okay, first of all, we start here, we check dot range. We want to make sure that's within with sheet and endword. So that looks right. It looks like we've referenced the sheet properly, so that's okay. Now, when we see something like this, range, or in a range, we're looking for a cell address. This needs to be a cell address. Cell address meaning like A1, B3, C7. So this value must be a cell. But what is that value? Let's look in the immediate room. When we go into view and we click on the immediate window, let's see what that is. Put a question mark. We might need to reference the sheet number. It says notes. Okay, so this is not a cell value. I need a cell value like C7. I need that. So it's wrong, right? I can't have notes. Why is it notes and why is it not a cell value? Well, let's look. We know it's sheet 1. We're focused on row 11, right? Row 11 cells. And what is the column? Okay, contact column is 4. So what is on row 11 and what is in column 4? It's going to be this notes. Right? We don't want notes. We needed an actual cell address. So let's reduce those. Okay, so let's look at row 11, column 4. Right? That's not going to work. Right? We have actually changed our cell references to here. So we are looking for something like E5, but since we inserted the rows, moved everything down, we really need our map here. We really need, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this, which is actually on row 14, no longer row 11. So we need to make that change. So let's do that. 14, it's now located on 14. So that's important. And let's continue down. So now that we know that we need to be on 14, we really should update all of these to our map network drive. So let's update these right here because we know each one of these, if it's blank or it's not a cell, it's going to include an issue. Okay, so let's change our table. First name, last name, and then we're going to put in, we've got notes, picture, okay, everything else looks good. Okay, so our first name is E5. That's correct. Our last name is H5. Let's put that in right now, H5. And okay, our address is now located on E7. Let's put that in, E7. And then our city, of course, it's H7. So let's put that in, H7. Our state, of course, is now in H9. So we'll update that, H9. Our email is located in E9, here E9, so let's change it to E9. Of course, our phone number is now located in J9, so we'll go ahead and put that in there. Our notes now are located in E11. So we're mapping this now, and of course our picture is in M4. Previously it was M4, our picture link, but now it's going to be in O5, so we might as well update that before we run into a bug. O5. So now we've done two things. We've updated our ranges here, updated the references here for each one above, and we've changed the row from row 11 to row 14. Let's continue with our code and see what other bugs we run into. Now we've run it. We know it's 14, and let's continue on. So we run it, and I think it ran okay. I didn't see any other issues with this. Well, that's good, but there's a few other issues, but it seemed to run. So let's look. So now it actually loaded up, but the last name, of course, let's put in Fred, and then okay, so let's put in the last name and then see if that loads accordingly to the right. Yeah, it did. It loaded it to the right one. We do have to update the fonts and formats and things like that, but that's okay. So now we've got it, but look, remember we highlighted the selected cell? That's not working now. The highlighted, why is not? Let's look in conditional formatting and see why. And I know why, of course, because our conditional formatting, let's take a look. We highlight this, go into the home, conditional formatting, manage rules, and we'll take a look. Now look at this big mess. This is when you add conditional formatting, you add rows, you get a big range like this, but I don't want a big range. You see, if we take a look at this, we'll see that our range columns D through I are selected and K through L. Well, I really want the entire table, right? So let's highlight that table, and it got messed up because we inserted rows. So all we need to do is select on this, which is the applies to, and then select which range we want. And we can go down as far as you want. We'll just go down to here to this. So now that's much cleaner. Now we have D16 to L46. Okay, that looks good. Right, the dancing ants are around the right table. And now let's take a look at the formula B3. Well, we inserted a row, so it's no longer B3. Now we have two choices. We can update the code to go to B3, or we can change it to B2. So we'll go ahead and keep this as B3. I'm going to keep this as B3, but in the code, what I want to do is I want to make sure that it's changed from B3 to B2. So let's go ahead and change that. In other words, when I select something, what do I want to happen? I want our selected row not to be 2, I want it to be 3. So let's find and replace any instances of B2 and change it to B3. So let's do that. And then you can see it here. Here's an example of it here, B2, right? So let's just make sure, find that, Control F, and then what we're going to do is we're going to place it on the entire project because there's only one sheet, right, in this project. So it's okay to replace B2 everywhere because it's just one sheet. We're not referencing B2 on any other sheet, so no problem. And what are we going to replace it with? We're going to replace it with B3. So we'll just copy and paste that, paste it here, and change this to a 3. Just in case that we've referenced it in multiple areas, it's going to replace, and we'll click Replace All. And you'll see it's been replaced by 7 replacements, 7 points. So that's a really great way. So let's remove that. So now when we go back and we select it, you'll see that B3, but there's still some issues. There's still issues. Why is it changing? Let's find out, because we've referenced B3 in other parts of our code. B3 is other parts. So we need to now take a look where B3 is, because this previously was the new contact. So we need to change that. Let's find that. When we select on a row, what is happening? It's changing back to false. So when we select and we click contact load, something is happening. It's going to false. What is that? Let's go into our macros here, contact load. Look, B3 used to be for our contact row. So let's change that. Now B4 is going to be to true, contact load to true. So let's take a look at that. B4 now becomes B5 because we've inserted a row. So let's find B4 and replace that with B. Remember, set contact load to true. Now that's in B5. So we need to change B4 and replace it with B5. So let's change that, of course, throughout the project. B5, and then replace all, and that'll replace 5 instances. Okay. All right. So now we've got that. But now, so we want B5 to be our contact load, and new contact in now, which is in B4. So let's find that. New contact here, we should mark this new contact, new. So the reason is we want to separate new contacts from existing contacts. That's why I have true or false, new contact. And that should be B4, okay? If you follow the original, B4. So we just need to make these adjustments as we move along. Let's take a look at this. If B3 is empty, what is this? This is the contact load. This is going to be our selected row. So that's okay. We can delete this because that's already been updated. So that's fine. B5, set contact load to true. That is B5. Okay, B3 is the contact row. That looks good. All right, so things are okay on here so far. Set B4, set new contact to false. Okay, and B5 contact load. All right, so we've gotten this at least in the contact load, remember, and that's gonna. So when we load it, now we get a highlighted. Now we get the highlighted cell because we have changed it. So now it looks a little bit right. Now our row is moving into B3. So now we've got that working again. All right, let's continue with more bugs. Now I know, let's click Add New and see what happens. Okay, we've got another bug. Cannot change part of a merged cell. This is a very common bug that you're going to run into a lot, and I'm going to show you exactly why it occurs and how to fix it. So let's debug it. And here we're trying to clear contents of a bunch of cells. Now when we say cannot, now when we run that bug again, the bug says cannot change part of a merged cell. What does this mean, cannot change part of a merged cell? It means that we have a merged cell and we're trying to change a portion of it. For example, take a look at this. This merged cell is E and F. Now when you want to add a value, you can just add a value to E5. That's fine. But what happens when you want to clear this out? You actually have to clear out both E and F5 together, right? You cannot just clear E5 out. You've got to when they're combined, when they're merged, you've got to use both. So that means E5 and F5. But how do we know that's a problem? We've got a lot of cells here. How do we know exactly which was the problem? Well, a great way to do it is when you have a lot of cells and you're not really sure what the problem is, it's good to separate it. Well, let's take a look. You can split this in half and say, okay, is there a problem with E5? We can do it like this. We can copy this clear contents right here, the end part of it, and paste that right in here into E5 and then comma out the rest of it. So this is going to be ignored. This is going to be ignored, right? We've just basically narrowed it down to this part. And then let's run it again. Is there still an error? Yes, there is. Okay, so we know our issue is either with B2 or E5, right? So that lowers the risk of the issue and we can figure out exactly where it's coming from. So we know the issue is either with B2 or E5 and we know it's based on a merged cell. So let's take a look at here. B2 is not a merged cell, right? B2 is not a merged cell. In fact, we need to make this B3. So let's do that. B3 is where our row is. So we need to update that. The reason this didn't update is because we were looking for a singular, right? And this new contact needs to be made to B4. Our new contact B4, right? New contact B4. The row is B3. We need to clear that row out when we have a new contact. Okay, so but that doesn't fix our error. We still have the bug, right? So we know it's not B3, right? We know it must be E5. There's nothing else. Now, why is E5 an issue? Because E5 is a merged cell. So we need to make this E5 through F5. We need to combine them just as they are, E5 through F5. Does that work? Let's take a look. Yes, it does. No more bug. Okay, so let's get rid of this. Let's continue back with this. And what we'll do is now we know there's an issue. Now we know that merged cells must be combined when we're clearing the contents. They must be combined. So we need to make sure that we hold that true for all the other ranges in here. For example, E7, we've got a lot of merged cells now. So how are we going to handle that? Well, of course, it's now, the last name is now H5 through J5. So let's make that change right here. H5 through J5, H5 through J5. And what about E7? E7 is now E7 through F7. So let's make that change. E7 through F7. Okay, we need to, now that they're merged cells, we need to account for that. And next up, E9 we have here, E9. We know we have to do H7 through J7 next, so let's do that. All right, E9, next up, E9, let's see, we've got E7, and next up, let's go ahead and do the H7 through J7. So we'll put that in so we move along right here, continuing on, H7 through J7. And what's next in our merged fields? We have here the email, which is E9 through F9. We'll add that in. E9 through F9. Next up, we also have H7. That's just a one, H9, so that's just one field, so we can put that in, back in here, H9, just for the state there. And then next up, well, of course, of our merged fields, we have just a phone, also a single field here, J9. J9, a single field, we can put that in there. So we want to make sure that our merged cells are taken care of completely. And of course, our notes field now is E11 through J12, 11 through J12. So we'll put that in. That'll be our E11 through J12. And the last is our picture link, and we're going to put our picture link right over here in O5. So let's update that to O5. Now we've cleared all of the forms O5. Okay, so that covers it. That covers all of our, let's go ahead and run that macro, and it's running without a bug, but we'll just have to double check to make sure none of the fields are removed. Everything looks okay for now. So we have new contact now. All right, so we've covered the new contact. Let's try to put in a new contact and see what kind of issues we run when saving our contact. So we'll put in a first name. Oh, we've got an issue here. Let's take a look at that debug. Okay, we've got a change here, worksheet change. What is this? B3 values. So let's take a look at this. It's looking for cells. So when you see cells, that means we need a row, then a column. We have the row. Okay, we're looking for a row. So what is the problem here? It's looking, what are we doing? What are we trying to do? We are trying to save changes to the form below. When we make a change, we want them saved, but we don't want those changes saved on a new contact. But why is it? What's the problem here? Well, this is for the worksheet change. When we make a change to field, when we make a change here, we want those changes to be saved. But if the contact is new, right? If the contact is new, we don't want those changes saved until we click Save Contact. But what's the problem? The problem is new contact is located here. We know it's a new contact. B4 is true, right? But this is testing out for B5. B5. So B5 is contact load, and B3. So we've changed those around, B3. So let's change this to B4 because this is now the row number. So the reason we have these two things, and I'll put some notes in here, we want two things to happen. I want the new contact to be false, equals false, and we also want the contact load to be false. So those contact load. So on those instances, right, only on those two instances do I want this code to run. I don't want to change it, and I want to make sure that these happen. So B5 must be false and B4 must be false. So contact load and new contact must be false. Here new contact is true, so we would not want this to run. We would not want this code to run. So let's reset that. We don't want it to run, so only on those. So in this instance, as it's a B4 is true, it would not run. B4 must be false for this code to run. So let's continue on. Now when we double click and edit it, we don't get the error. Let's make sure to reset that just in case. So now when we double click that, it doesn't happen because B4 is true. So we can enter the last name. Let's take a look at Smith. We'll put our last name in there, and we'll continue on with the addresses. 1, 2, 3, 4 Main Street. Okay, we've got some font colors we need to update there. Los Angeles. We want to make sure we put in all the fields so that we can check to make sure they're all going to be putting in it correct. Lisa at smith.com. Okay, California, and then we'll give it a phone. We'll format these. We need to reformat these. And the notes field, test notes. Okay, we do need to update the font. Now let's save the contact. Basically what I want to happen is I want all of this information to be saved here, right here, under M. So let's take a look at that. We'll save the contact. We've got another bug. Let's take a look at this. Method range of object worksheet failed. Okay, let's click on debug and see what happened. All right, so we've got here, the idea is when we save a contact, we want to run through all the rows and save it. So we want to run through all the columns. So here's basically what I want to do. I want to run through all of this, and I want to save, for example, I want to save E5 to column 1. So we're going to run through all the columns. All of these, we know if this is a column, for example, we're going to run through columns equals column. What columns do I want to run through? I want to start at column 4, and I want to run all the way to equals column 12. So I want to go from column 12, and I want to look in this specific row, 14. I want to look at this range, and I want to save whatever's in this range to the first column, to right here. I want to look in H5, and I want to save whatever's in H5. In this case, of course, it's Smith, the last name, and I want to put it right here. So I want to do that for every field. But this starts at 4 and goes to 12. Of course, we have here 4 to 10 because we added 2 columns. So the first thing I see that right away, I need to update this to 12. Next up, let's take a look at our issue here. What is this? When we highlight over it, contact column is 4. Is that right? Yeah, probably it starts at 4. We do want to start at 4, so that's right. What about our contact row? Contact row is 31. Contact row is 31. Is that correct? Yes, that's right. That's our first. So we know we've got the right place. 4 and 31 is the right place we want to save it. So this part is correct. This part is correct. But what about this part? Okay. Again, when you see this, we're looking for a range. I'm looking for E4, M4, F5, something like that. That's what I need, right? Because we're looking for a range. So that's what we're looking for. So what do we have? That's what we're looking for, but what do we have? Using our immediate window, let's copy this and we'll paste it right here and see exactly what we have. We know what we're looking for. What do we have? We have the word notes again. Well, that's not going to help. We need a cell reference, E4. And why do we have the incorrect? Well, what is in row 11, column 4? Row 11, column 4 is notes, right? I don't want that. I want this, E5. Why are we getting it wrong? Because we need row 14. We don't want row 11. Remember, we added rows, so we need to change this to row 14. So let's do that in the code. Change this to 14. So now if we have 14, let's see what we will find. Is that correct? Are we going to get the right number? Highlight this. Use the immediate window. Click Enter. Perfect. That's what we want. E5. That's what I want. So now we know 14 is right. So let's continue on with the code. Let's continue running our code. We didn't get any more bugs with that. Okay, great. So let's take a look. But I still see an issue. Selected row should not be false. So we need to change this instance to B4, right? I should mark this. What is that? New contact in B4. B4 is no longer false. So B4, that's important, okay? So we want that to be B4. All right, so we've got that covered. And in fact, I would like to add even additional. I want to set the row number. I want to set the row number to B3. So let's even add something. Dot range B3. We know we want that to be our row. Equals, what is equal? Equals the contact row. Contact row. We want that row to be in here. When we save a new, we know we've got a new row. So let's save it right there. All right, so because we definitely don't want it false. This should be the selected row or contact row. New contact, true or false, right? This needs to go to false, and this needs to be false. So we need to update that. So let's try that again. Add new contact, no bugs there. Okay, and then we will call it David, and then Capers. Okay, and put an address. And Main Street. We still need to check to make sure all of the information got saved properly in the right place. So we'll add this email. And of course we can set an automated tab order, which I suggest you do. I've got that in other videos to automate the tab order between cells. And let's put an email and an estate and then a phone number. And then test notes too. Okay, so now let's save it. Okay, good. Now we've got the row number. Perfect. Now we've got the new contact is false. And let's look down. Now we've got the selected row here. This is something we just added in for row, so don't worry about that. So now we've got it. Everything's there correctly. In fact, if I were you, I would freeze this row here under formula so we can view here and then freeze the panes. Freeze. Now when we scroll up, we can see that. All right, so that looks good. So we've got that there. And we now have new contact. Let's make sure David, last name, the city, the state, email, phone number needs to be formatted. Notes and the picture, we didn't have any picture on file. So we'll test that. That's probably going to be, we're going to need to bug fix that as well. So let's do that. All right, so continuing on. So I think we've got our save new is right. We're going to check delete in a moment. And then why don't we do that now? Let's go ahead and select on this one and click delete contact. Are you sure you want to delete? Yes. Okay. We didn't see it have any bugs. It looks like it's missing. Great. That looks okay. All right. I think there's no issue with delete. Let's look over the code just to make sure. Are you sure you want to delete? B3, of course, B3 cannot be empty. That's got to be the selected row. The contact row equals B3. We're going to delete the contact row, and then D13 select D13. I don't think we want that. D13 is just what we want to do is we want to select the first available row like that. So let's change that to D16. D13 doesn't really have any. What I want to do is after deleting a contact, I don't want this information to show up, right? I want at least the first existing contact to show up. So by selecting D16. So let's update that to D16. Okay, so we've got that fixed. So now we've got delete contact, and let's try cancel new again. Cancel new, add new, cancel new. Cancel new doesn't seem to be working. Okay, all right, that doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Let's take a look in there. Cancel new with sheet 1 D13. Okay, we need to update that. Again, the idea is to select the first name in the row, the first name in the table here, the first row of the table. So previously that was 13, so now we've changed it to 16. So let's update that code accordingly to 16, and then we'll try it again and see what happens there. Okay, now let's try it. Add new, cancel new. Okay, now it works. Now we've done that. Add new, cancel new. Okay, perfect. So that's working good. Now we've got that. Now let's take a look. Attached thumbnail. Let's run that and see what that. I think we're going to have a few issues. B3, looking at this, JPEG, M4 is no longer our selected row. M4 is where we want that specific, previously, that is where we want that long file name to appear, but it's not M4. Remember, we're putting that right here. Picture link. 05 now, 05. Let's update that. Of course, we're going to run into a bug if we don't, but let's update that to 05, right? So now we've got that. B3 again, B3 is false. Let's go look at that. What is the reason we have that? B3 is 16, we can't have that, right? So if B4, again, should update that, equals false. This is for new contact. Basically what it's saying is if it's not a new contact, then what do we do? If it's not a new contact, if we add an ID picture, and let's just put in something from my desktop here, put in this picture here. Okay, so we put in this picture. Now we got an error. What is this? Unable to insert the property of the picture class debug. What is this? Picture path is blank. Why is it blank? Let's take a look. It's looking in M4. Well, that's not going to help, right? If it's looking, the picture path equals blank. What is in M4? M4, let's take a look. M4 is blank. M4 is right here. There's nothing here. Our picture is now going to O5. So let's update that to 05 here. 05. Okay, anywhere else? Okay, let's take a look. That looks okay for now. For now, it's okay. Reset this, and let's try again. Add the ID picture, and let's just check here under this. Add any picture. Okay, we just added a picture here. That looks right. The positioning is off, but at least it adds the picture correctly now. What I want is I want to put that picture right here. I want to put it in K about right here. And I also probably want to reduce the size to about like that. So let's take a look at that. I want to put the picture in K. So picture display thumbnails where we're going to be focused on here. So right, previously we had it in J. Remember J4? Well, that doesn't make sense. I want to put it right in K, and I want to put it right around 5, right? Somewhere right around K5. I want to put it right about here. We can adjust, but I know it's got to be K5 because otherwise it showed up in the wrong place. Let's click that again and see where it's showing up. It's showing up here, so we don't want that. We want to show up here. So let's reposition that to K5. All we need to do is change J4 in this case to K5. And in this case to K5. All right. Okay, so now let's take a look at it now. Now we can run this code again, just clicking run and see. Okay, now it's K5, but it's off. It's in there, but it's too far to the left. So let's move it over to the right. We have increment left minus 25. That is not going to help. We probably wanted to not less minus 25, right? This would be 0 right here, right? Minus 25 is going to put it here. Plus 25 is going to put it about right here. So let's put it about plus 5, which should be right here. So increment left 5. And I see a lot of people, especially on a move button, make sure you have a space between left and 5. There must be a space there. Must be a space. So I've seen a lot, especially on the inventory. If you remember inventory, we had increment left 30, increment minus 30. For some reason, a lot of people are getting it wrong. They're not putting a space. So make sure you always put a space there. Okay, let's rerun that and take a look. Okay, that looks right. We've got the right space, but I want to minimize this. That size is too big. So we've got the height equals 85 in this, but let's add some additional. Let's put some in. Let's minimize the length of it. So we can do something like this. If dot width is greater than, what do I want to do? I want to set the dot width to set of a maximum equals, let's say 110 or something like that. Else, then we'll set the height. Then we'll set a height limit, right? So either one it's going to have. Else, then the height is 85. And that way we will maintain the aspect ratio. And if. Okay, so basically we give it an either or. I'm not sure about the width exactly, but we can adjust it accordingly if needed. Okay, so we'll bring this out, bring this in so we can format it just right. Okay, so now let's rerun this and take a look at it. Okay, that's good. It could be a little bit bigger, right? We can add it. We want to put it about right here. But it looks right. We've got the aspect ratio. We've got the size. We can make this probably 125. Run that again just to double check. So you can play with these. That looks a little bit better. All right, maybe 130. Okay, so now we've got that set up. We've got the right dimensions for our picture. We've got the right information, and it looks good. So now we set the maximum width and the maximum height. Perfect. All right, so we've got the picture. Let's just add another picture just so we know and see what that looks like. All right, it's looking very good. We've got the right information here. We've got that. Let's load that picture and see. Oh, we added a picture, but it didn't load up. Let's take a look why. Why didn't that picture load? Let's take a look. Add the ID picture. Add a picture here. We'll just use the same one. But it didn't save it, did it? It didn't save it, right? When we click back here, it's not appearing here. Why didn't it save it? Let's take a look. That's on our load, right? We want to load. Let's put in the contact load and see what happened. Probably got there. All right, into the contact load, let's take a look at what we're doing. We've got this 05. We want to make sure that 05, that picture link did not save. It did not save here. It's got to save it. Anytime we make a change, it's got to save to L and that. So let's fix that so we can do that. So into the sheet here, we want to make sure that we're actually saving it on existing. So let's take a look at that macro under sheet 1. When we make a change, worksheet change, and we target E5 through H9. Let's take a look at that. We've expanded that. I think it's beyond that. So it should be E5, that's correct, all the way to what? We actually need to make a change to that. We've actually changed. We need to make that all the way to 05, all the way to O, and then 12, right? Because that's the last. So we need to include if the user makes any changes in this range right here, we need to make a change. So let's change that. E5, because now we've expanded the area to O and 12. O12. Okay, so let's take a look. Now we've changed it because you'll notice the change that we didn't go down here. We have the right cell reference, meaning 05. Whatever's in 05 is going to come right here. Now let's try it. Add the picture, and click OK. And we've got a bug. Let's take a look. Debug. Okay, B3 value. Let's check. That looks 16. Okay, that looks right as far as a row is concerned, right? Our row is a right, so we know we've got the right row. What else is wrong here? The target row is 5, and of course we need another range here. Uh-oh, we've got the cell mapping. We got to fix our cell mapping. What is this? Where do we save this information? Where do we save this information? We've got to save it to our table down here. So let's make this update. We've got our columns here. In fact, let's take a look. Let's put the column down here instead of the link. Okay, so let's put that 12. 12 is our column reference. And let's put the link right in L5 or hidden. So let's put the link here. This will be our column reference, column, and I'll show you why. We got to know what column. Let's take a look here. The target row is 5, and so if this is our row, the row's right, 16, but what column do we save it on? What column? We need to know the target column, 15 plus 8. This is where it tells us where to save the columns, We know this is column 12, so why don't we put the picture link in column 12? Let's double check our rows. So we know first name is in column 4, last name column 5, and so on. So let's put that, in fact, let's just copy this so we get everything right. And this is where we're going to put our columns, right? So we need to know when we save this, we need to know what column in the table to save it on. We can paste that, right? We'll paste it all and then we'll just change it. So here is where we want to put the columns. Let's do that. So here we don't want to. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, if the user makes a change to this, we know what row to save it because it's row 16. Our row is right here. But what column? We know it's column 4. So let's put column 4 here. What about the last name? What is the last name? Where do we put the last name? We're going to put that in column 5, right? Column 5. If we extrapolate the columns, and we paste in there, we know exactly what column is which. 4, 5, 6. So we know what column. This is -11. It's a format. It's not really minus. That's a phone format, which we'll fix. So we've got 5, 6. So let's save these columns, and we know what column to put it in. I'll explain exactly. Last name, 5. Address, let's map these accordingly. Address is 6. City, what's the city? The city is going to be 7. And the email is going to be 9. Okay, so let's map all of these. Our phone number is going to be 10. Our notes are going to be 11. Our state is going to be 8. And what about our map link? Our map link, well, we need that too. Where are we going to put that? Why don't we put that right over here? We can put that right here. Map link, let's put it right here. Map link. And we can put that right in here. Let's double check. So here's what I want to do. I want to make it a perfect specific number of columns away. So we know that if this is column 5, right? If Fred is in column 5, how do we get to this, right? How do we get to this? What column is this equals? Column. Okay, so this is column 15. So what if we take the existing column 5 and we add 10 to it? We can do that. Now we know the target column plus 10, that's going to get us our column number. That's going to get us our column number. So that means that if I put the link for the picture in here, K, and in fact we can make it hidden, we want to go, and we know this is 11, column 11, that we need to put that number right here. Let's put that right here, map link instead. So that is going to be 12. So that means that any change in this, it's going to know the target row 5, put that change in column 12. So in other words, if we make this test, right, I want to save this to right here. I want to save it into the picture link. I want to save it in column 12. We know what row, right? We know the row is always going to be here, in this case 16, but we don't know the column. So if we take column 11, we know it's 11, and we add 10, it's going to get us this number right here, and I'll show you how that works. So we're going to put 12 here. So now we've got all the columns mapped out. In other words, equal existence. Okay, I make a change to Fred. I make a change here. How do I get this information right here, right? How do I get it there? I know 16, but I don't know it's going to be column 4. But if I look here, exactly 10 columns away, I'm going to find 4. So I know the target column plus 10, this value is going to be our column. This is going to be our column number. right? 10 columns right here. This value is going to be where we can find our column number. So if this is our column number, this is our row, we know exactly where to save that. All right, so we just have to make a few changes. We decided we're going to put our link here in K5. So let's make that update into the macros, into the contact macros. And we know our link's going to go in K5. So we'll make those adjustments right here. We're going to put it in K5, not O5, K5. And then when we display it, we want to pull it up from, it's okay, this is fine. We don't need to change that, but we do need to change this. K5 is going to pull that link to K5 to display. That's where we want our information to go. And in fact, let's change this to K5 as well. We want to save it in K5. All right, so now let's take a look. Let's reset this bug here. We'll reset it just to make sure we're resetting it. And now let's add an attachment and see what happens. Add a picture. And we'll add this picture again here. All right, so we've got this, and of course we can hide this, just change the font color, just by doing this. We can change the font color just by this, but I'm going to leave it for now so you can see it. So we've got the picture here, and now we have the link. Now we have the link in the right place. So when we select something else, and we select this again, it's going to come up. Okay, but one more thing. I need this to clear out. I need K5 to clear, right? Because it's a new. So let's make sure we add this when we on the load contact macros. When we click load, we need to clear this out, or at least make sure that it's cleared out. So let's do that. Again, 4 to 10, that's not going to work. We need to update that to 12 to 12. Remember, it's going to go all the way from 4 to 12. Run every one of those. So now let's click on it. Now it's gone disappear because this is blank, right? So it's going to take whatever's here and it's going to put it in K5. In this case, it's blank. So now we have it updating. You see how we did that? Okay, so now we have it, but now the picture's not displaying. I want that picture to display on the load. It's not displaying. So let's see why it's not displaying. On the load, let's take a look here. If M4 value is empty, that's not going to help. Our link is no longer located in M4. It's located in K5. So let's make that change. M4 is no longer earned, so we can just say change that to K5. Now let's try it. Now let's select on it. Now it's displaying. Okay, so now it's looking good. Now we're getting a lot better here. And let's add a new contact. Oh, we've got another bug. Debug. Let's take a look at that. Again, we have a merge cell issue. So we're going to focus on that. Why is it? Did we make a change? H9, J9, E11. Let's take a look at that. H9, J9. What about this? K5. Let's clear that out. I want to make sure we clear that out. But that's not part of it. That change that. K5, no longer O5. Now if you take a look at here, O5 is a merged cell. O5. We don't want to change that. O5 is a merged cell, but we don't want to clear that out. I want to clear out K5. So that should be it. K5. Now let's run it. Okay, good. So now we have that. You see how those merged cells, we must use both cells when we try to clear it out. But when we want to place a value, it's fine to use just one cell. Okay, so add new, back in there, and there are no bugs in that. Let's add a picture ID of that and see if we can get that. Now we've added a picture. It looks like the link's in the right places. And we can add let's do test first and test last. We know everything else is working. Let's put some test notes in here and click save. All right, let's look down here. First name, notes look good. The link looks good. All right. I think we are just about there. Let's take a look at everything else. We've got the highlighted. We've got our cell references here. We need to do some formatting and we need to get those colors updated. So let's hold the control and click everything and make sure we've got our formatting. And we'll click the black font. We'll keep it in black. I need to format this phone number along with the notes. I believe the notes are still formatted as a phone number, so we need to update that. So notes, of course, let's go down to here and we'll just go all the way down. I'm not going to highlight all of them. We're going to take that from special and change that to general. I'm going to change this to special. That's going to be our phone number. So Going down here to more number formats, clicking on special and clicking on phone number. That's the way I want that handled. Notes, all right, that's good here. Looks like the borders are not set here. Format those cells. I will create a same color, just put in our solid line on the upper right and lower, and then click OK. Now we have that. That looks good. Our link is colored blue. Our last name is working good. We've got the picture showing up. The last thing I'm going to do is this is ugly. Let's put that to blue font. Change that to blue font. This is the same as our background color, that light blue. So that hides the link automatically. We've got add new contact, delete contact. Let's double check the delete contact. We can add this. Let's take a look at that. Unable to get the insert property of the picture class. Debug. Insert picture. Of course, there's no pictures. We used a number. Now, of course, there's a number here. That most likely won't happen, but let's write some code that just says if there's an issue, exit. On error, go to no pic. Okay, because if there's any issue with the thumbnail, let's just end that. We don't want to do anything with that in case there's an issue. So no pic, right? In case there's an issue with the link or something, that way bugs won't appear, and put the colon there. Let's try that again. Let's load that up. And in case there's an issue with that, reset that, and we'll take a look. Okay. Now even though the 12 is not a correct link, it's not creating a bug anymore. So we've skipped that bug in case there is one. All right, that looks good. And our links are showing up. Great. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure you have a fixed version, and I'm going to make sure you have the one with all the bugs. So I'm going to actually create two different applications to give you both. This way you have the final version and you have the one that contains all the bugs, so that you can practice working these bugs out yourself. Bugs are nothing to be afraid of. They are all part of work, so you don't have to get frustrated. Of course, we're always here to help you in the group. And if you have any questions, make sure you do join, if you have not already, the Excel for Freelancers group. And of course, when you get great at this, you will be doing amazing, and you'll be able to create and customize these applications as you see which. So I'm really glad I got to show you this bug. Of course, do check out the Excel Dashboard Masterclass. That's a 15-hour single-click master class that shows you amazing dashboards. So if you get that, I'll include the links down below. That's my masterclass that helps me keep these videos free, as always, each and every Tuesday. Of course, we do have lots of other content each day of the week in our group. We've got Members Monday, where we highlight a member of our group. We've got Training Tuesday. Of course, these videos will be each and every Tuesday. We have Wisdom Wednesdays, where I offer take a little bit of a message or uplifting quote that I've found or created. And of course, we have Thursday Thoughts, where I'll do a video about various things, Excel or some non-Excel related, about freelancing that I think might help you. We have Flashback Fridays, of course. That's going to bring a video from the past back to you. We have Solution Saturday. I look forward to getting your questions. If you've got a question you want me to answer, Solution Saturday is a great way. I'll answer your questions. And of course, Sunday I will sleep, hopefully. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining me on this amazing bug fixing training. I hope you found it very helpful. Please do click the links down below. And of course, if you have not yet subscribed, we would appreciate it. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Your comments, likes, and shares are always appreciated. Thanks so much, and have a great day.